Okay, I'm just going to get going. If let me know if my music's coming through and if it's distracting and too loud. I'm listening to a bit of hello there. I'm listening to a bit of John Butler at the moment. If anybody knows who John Butler is, but it might be a bit noisy. Can you guys hear that? I'll put it down even more, shall I? I had an short exchange with Anna yesterday. Anna, who's on the call, and I was talking, or what were we talking about, Anna? It was something to do with, oh no, I was commenting on because Anna's picked up this kind of 20-day live challenge that I'm talking about, finding voice, but Anna's doing it in a different way. She's kind of just showing up every day and writing a thought stream, working her craft into it. And, there's a bit of vulnerability there. There's kind of like self-awareness in the stream. It's interesting to watch. It's the right kind of thing. As it happens, and folks, when I talk about that practice of finding voice, I think there is actually something magic that happens when you actually get on camera. That is like a special kind of vulnerability, man. Look, putting any of your work out on the internet is a profoundly vulnerable act. Because if you really care about your craft, you're putting the thing that you care about the most out there. It's like a child that you put out in the world, right? And you're putting it out there, and someone's going to come along and tell you your baby's ears are on backwards, or just they don't like it, right? And or they don't even engage with it. They're indifferent to it, and that all of that can kill. So it's a profoundly, hey Ben, it's a profoundly like vulnerable thing to do at all, right? Anyway, so Anna's doing this, and I forget what I forget what it was, but I said, remind me to tell you about the video, Tall Order. Yeah, the pressure of actually doing the live videos, it is so compressing and tightening into that moment, because when you're writing, you can edit yourself. It's like editing the selfie that you take, and then you keep changing it until you put the right selfie out there. But there's a saying that I read somewhere that says, the selfies that you don't post are the real you. So when we write and it's like a live feed, unless we're really holding ourselves to that, which we don't do, man, it's never an honest exchange, right? It's not really as vulnerable as it needs to be for this alchemy to work its magic. Yeah. Alchemy to work its magic. Listen to me mixing my metaphor. But when you're on camera and you're talking, when I started doing this, you sound like such a muppet, and you're trying to sound better and look better, and you're trying to like put on this kind of personality for everyone. And the whole discomfort of it is profoundly necessary. Neo-passéism is so passé. Bravo, you've nailed it. It's a self-referencing neologism that I absolutely love. I'm just chatting to people in the live chat as we go. Anyway, let me try and remember what I was prattling on about Anna. Remind me to tell you the parable of the master potter. So day 11, Anna writes, forgive me, Substack, I have sinned. I missed day 11 of No Fucks February. Last night I spent 3 hours writing an essay, and by the time I got to the end of it, I changed my mind about the premise and vehemently disagreed with myself. Anyway, Anna goes on to say something else. So, sorry, I'm scratching my eyes all the time here. But this practice that I'm recommending is about archetypal finding voice. And it's not that you're looking for your voice somewhere else. It's a journey of searching that you discover only while searching. It's like a pilgrimage. You don't only go do a pilgrimage to get to the destination. You do a pilgrimage because of how the journey changes you, yeah, and what it takes away from you and what it adds to you, yeah? And the scars that it leaves on you, the calluses it leaves on your feet. And this is the same thing. So you go on social media, switch your camera on for 20 days, 10 to 20 minutes, and you just talk about your live thought stream. And if you don't know what to talk about, you talk about the fact how vulnerable and awkward it feels to not know what to talk about. But you can just explain to people why you're doing it. And remember, it's not for other people. It's for you, so that you can get past your own bullshit and your own performative nature and your own pleasing and your own expectation, your own trying to sound so perfect. And you start realizing, the people that keep showing up generally are kind. Generally, people are kind. And if they're not, fuck them. Because why would we take critique or criticism from people whose advice we wouldn't seek? Okay. And it's all for you. And I said to Anna after at the bottom, there's, hey, remind me to tell you about the parable of the master potter. It's a cool little story. Hello, Kay. Hello, Henry. David joined. Wendy Morgan's here. Zoe's back. Lada's back. Kelly's here. Daniel's here. Aditya, Ken, Johan, XXYYs is here. Cutroot is back and Dabdib is here. The parable of the potter, I don't even know where I collect these little things, but it's a story about a master potter that invites 20 students in for 20 days. The number 20 is coming up a lot today. I don't know if you've noticed. And, this person's a master at their skill. And so these 20 people are all, either beginning pottery or have some experience with it, but they want to become masters, or they want to learn from the master in this kind of 20-day masterclass. So he divides the group up into two. And so they're all making, like, let's call it a vase, clay vase, as you would say in America. And half the group, he gives them one set of instructions. And he gives the other group another set of instructions. So the one group, he says to them, you have to make a perfect vase by the end of the 20 days. So what you do is every day you're going to make the best vase that you can. And then tomorrow when you come back, you need to refine it and 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 refine it. So you don't have to finish it all in one day, but you have to finish it over 20 days. So you can pace yourself, you can take your time, you can draw it, structure it in your mind on paper, and then over the 20 days we'll get there and you can build your perfect product. So they're building one product consistently or over time for 20 days. And the other group, they have something different. They have to produce a finished product at the end of every single day. Every day they have to make a vase and then get, judge themselves and let the class look at what they've done. And then that gets squashed down into clay again. And then they have to start it all over tomorrow. Now, my question to the listening audience is always, which of those two groups makes the most beautiful or the most perfect vase or vase? Is it the one group that gets to refine it slowly over 20 days and work on their mistakes and keep fixing it and changing it? Or is it the one that has to start again afresh every single day? I open it up to you to tell me who makes the better vase or vase. Come on, folks, jump on those keyboards. Let me know. And it's interesting to hear what you think. Am I missing the chat? Yes, I am. Pilgrim age, the age of the pilgrim. Yes, the age of the pilgrim. We are all on a pilgrimage towards our better selves. We're all becoming something day by day. Did you all get that question, by the way? I wanted to know what you think about which of those two groups makes the better product at the end of the 20 days under the tutelage of the master potter. The everyday group, iterating always leads to faster growth, it feels, but they're both iterating, you see, Zoe. The one is iterating on their previous yesterday's foundation, and the other ones are iterating a completely new cycle. So Zoe says the everyday group, and I don't even know which you mean. I think, are you meaning the ones that rebuild it from scratch every day, or the ones that refine their product every day? Because there's two groups. So tell me what you mean, Zoe. Thomas, we're talking about the parable of the master potter. Each day. Ndukwe says, if each day is the same day, then how does that add up? If they only have one day, tomorrow's not promised. In this parable, Ndukwe, we're not getting metaphysical. We're just talking about a class of pottery students working under a master potter. And there's two groups, and the one group have to produce one perfect product at the end of it. So they have one vase or vase that they're working on for 20 days that they can keep touching up and refining and making tweaks to. And the other group have to make from scratch a vase every single day. Anyone? You guys are killing me here. So the answer is there is no right answer. That's the punchline of this, is because whatever it is we're working on something else. So if we have one essay that we're writing, the refiners, irony, the earthling says the refiners, but here's the twist of that tale, earthling. It's that everybody's refining something. The one group that have to start again each morning are refining themselves. They're refining that ability. They're building the muscle that it takes to start again. And I know that there's something to be said. That's why when Anna told me that story about the essay that she got to the end of and then decided she didn't like it, it's that sometimes we can work on an essay or on a piece for 20 days and we can refine it and refine it and refine it and it can become beautiful. But the irony is, as we change over that 20 days, right, we can get to the end of it and we no longer love or believe or feel the same about that. This is not what we find the most beautiful. We perhaps would have done something different. And this happens in the 20-day live challenge that I want to set for people. Is that you're trying to become something. The thing that you're trying to become is an ambition, right? That as soon as you make an ambition and you call it, that's the place I want to reach, you create a limit in yourself so that even if you grow in wisdom and something else catches your eye and you change in some way along that journey, you don't allow yourself to lean towards the new invitation because you just keep pursuing the original ambition, sometimes under this virtuous banner of I'm not a quitter, I don't give up. If I commit to something, I see it through, right? And the alternative is every single morning when you get up and you decide I'm going to write something today, you throw away yesterday's effort. Yesterday belongs to yesterday, but you don't completely forget what you did. You realize the mistakes you made. You looked at the vase sitting on the shelf and go, that's not what I wanted to say. That's not how I wanted to say it. You know what? I'm going to do it all differently today. Is that landing with everyone? Is that landing with everyone? You guys are killing me today. You'll let me know. You'll let me know if it lands with you. But there's something powerful about that. Earthling says the truth. I've started over all my life just as I am now, starting from literally nothing at 50. It's rough at this age. It is very rough at this age. I had to start again in my later years. Anna says it lands. Ndukwe says ambition. Ambit ion? I don't know what you mean there. Ambit ion. Oh, ambition. Yeah, I'm not 100% following that. But I have a little saying that goes, true potential is something that can never be known by the ambitious man. Because if we set our sights on becoming something we can never actualize, because it's the journey on our way of getting there. So let's bring this back to writers and writing and to finding your voice. The reason I'm prattling on about this is because I am convinced that a lot of folks on this call, a lot of people on Substack, some of the people on Substack are just here for attention. They don't have anything to say. They'll say fucking anything. They'll copy anything. They'll get ChatGPT to write anything. It's not the most profound contribution to human conversation at the moment. But those folks aside, right? Most of the folks on Substack want to write because they want to say something. They have something to say. They want their voice heard. They want to be seen. They've got some message that they feel that they have to share with the world, or something that the way I said it yesterday is a story about a young jazz player who had this wonderful jazz education, learned to play the trumpet very, very well, but wasn't invited into the conversation, but played with some of the more senior players. And eventually, after touring and exploring and all the rest of it, realized they weren't saying the thing that he wanted to say. So in some sense, there is conversation happening and we're all contributing to the conversation, the unfolding conversation. But the reason we're writing is because we want to say something in our unique voice. Two problems: we don't know what our unique voice is. And number two, we don't actually want to be seen. We have this weird paradoxical relationship with being seen. Yeah. And so we choose ambitions that are prescribed by the populace, by the group, because if we subscribe to such um, channels or pathways of becoming, then they're endorsed, and in some sense we're safe. Which means if we're following along the way everybody else has followed, if we're all going wrong, there's some comfort in that, or at least I can't be accused of trying to be seen, as if trying to be seen is some sort of crime. Just because there is a subsection of our population, an immature culture that is pathological in some sense, that for whom they only want to be seen for the sake of being seen, right? That has made the idea of attention and being seen as some kind of anti-virtue, some kind of thing that we should be ashamed to feel. But if we can just be fucking radically honest with ourselves for 5 seconds, why are you on Substack? You are on Substack. Maybe you're here to read, but if I'm talking to a writer or an artist or a creative, Jesus, can you just admit to yourself that you want to be seen? Capital S, seen, large letter S. You don't just want attention for the sake of it. You want attention so that, because we came here to participate in this conversation. In life, we came here to participate. We didn't come here to be shrinking wallflowers, right? That doesn't mean everybody needs to have an opinion on everything, but that's not what we're advocating here. We're advocating finding your own voice, giving yourself permission to say that into the conversation, or to have the conversation that you think is most necessary because of how it stirs something meaningful and profound in your heart. Anyway, I'm going to try and keep it short today, unless the conversation takes a turn. Many are here to be paid. Ndukwe says, many are here to be paid. Yes, many are here to be paid. My distinction, my discernment is many are only here to be paid. And some writers want to make writing their living. They want to sing for their supper. And they'll work on their craft and they'll sing better and they'll hear from the audience what the audience wants to hear, and they'll apply their craft and their talent and their skills in singing for their supper. We all want our bellies fed, right? Some of the people that you're pointing out, the many that Ndukwe says, are here only to be paid. This is as good as any other meaningless job in the world. Everything in the world is meaningless. I have a friend in India who's recently had to go do a job search, and he said it was destroying his soul because 90% of all of the activity and the engineering and the software development and the hustle and the late hours and the degrees and the college degrees that they have to get and the extra effort that they have to put in eventually is all contributive towards things that corporations are doing and startups are doing that have no fucking meaning whatsoever. They just also engaged in the hustle culture, and there's people building products to help other people hustle better, so that they can build funnels, so that they can hustle other people into the hustle culture. This whole thing is taken on a life of itself. Yeah. But that's meaningless. Most of our work is meaningless, right? And it's not the drudgery that we care that kills us, or the long hours that kills us. It's the meaninglessness that kills us, right? And I will often say soul is what is missing, not souls. This human capacity for soul. Soul is what is missing when life feels wrong. Soul is what is missing when life feels wrong. And if soul is about meaning and about connection and about belonging and imagination, then we want to tackle their opposites. Then it means that I want to tackle meaninglessness. I want to tackle disconnection. I want to tackle such things, which is why I'm talking about doing things with meaning. So the distinguishing thing between people that are just coming here to be paid, it's the just part. And I often use these words, so that. What's your so that? I want to be paid so that, so that I can make a living out of my craft. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to be paid meaningfully for the work that they find most meaningful? All right. We don't have language. We don't have shared language to distinguish between craft and content. It's all just content. And so the content creator that comes and just creates content with no so that, if you ask them, what's your so that? I'm doing this so that what? I'm doing this so that I can 10x. I want to grow my Substack. So that what? So that I can get paid. So that what? It's just a job like Uber driving or box packing at Amazon. It's meaningless, right? There is no so that behind them. But if you are a person with a great so that, or you want the human family to all start a pilgrimage towards a greater so that we can leave a legacy in this life, so that we can honor the inheritance that we got from our ancestors, so that we can start appreciating our place in place, so that we can live in relationship with cosmos and each other and just start creating a normal society that actually knows how to welcome young souls into it and remind them that we can all pursue our own so that we can all find ways to pursue our crafts and our callings, find some star in the sky to draw us on over the horizon, right? We all want that. And what I invite you all to do is to start realizing that there's a distinction between being seen so that for some noble calling inside yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to bring some powerful message into the world. I don't know if any of you have seen the Pixar movie Soul. Just let me know if you have, please. I thrive on engagement here. I'm speaking into a camera, which can be one of the most soul-destroying experiences in the universe. And the engagement, the chat and the love hearts and all the rest of it, it lets me know that this is landing. And it also eventually will let the infernal algorithm know that a human conversation is happening here. Yes. If you have seen the movie Soul, the premise is it comes down to this one moment where this as yet not incarnated soul is given a chance at walking in someone else's shoes in life. So this soul that is afraid and unenticed to come into the world, especially at a time now where everything is so important about ambitions and who you can become and how much status you can get and how you have to be devoted to some great purpose. And this soul says to the other main character, I think I know what my thing is. I love walking and I love looking at the sky. And he says, no. Come on, soul. That's just ordinary, normal, everyday stuff. That's not what lights you up. He's the one that learns later on that he was a fool. He was giving her wrong advice. That is exactly a good enough purpose to be here, right? If that's what lights you up, that's what you came here to do. The world does not need more people to give of themselves and make sacrifices and fight the good fight. The world needs people who have come alive. That's what the world needs. And so your job is to find what brings you alive and to fucking do that with all your heart. But you cannot do that until you find voice and until you stop being afraid of being seen. And the way to stop being afraid of being seen is to do a 20-day, it's one of the ways, right? Do a 20-day live challenge. I'll show you how to do it and tell you how to do it. And the other way is to start using your own judgment, your own discernment to realize that everything that matters is contingent on a so that, on your why. And if you can connect more honestly with that why, it's humbling because sometimes your great why isn't that great. It's pretty fucking ordinary, like walking and looking up at the sky. But if that's your why, fuck it. You didn't come here to please everybody else. You didn't come here to get our permission. If we waited for, if everybody waited for permission, human beings would still be living in caves eating raw meat. Right. Where you get your permission is where you get your power. Is where you get your power. Anyway, folks, I think that's pretty much it for me. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that there's two different ways to look at this process of refinement and evolution of ourselves and of our craft. And sometimes it's beginning again from scratch, again and again and again and again, because there's something being learned every single time and some muscle, some kind of resilience being developed. But there is also a different kind of thing, a stick-to-itness, where you just do a thing and you keep doing it and you keep refining it until you get the result, a result. And it doesn't matter if it's your best result, because guess what? You can make another vase, right? You can write another essay. You can make another video. Mistakes are how we learn. Every step we take, mistake or not, is a threshold to the next step. Yeah, and all we're doing constantly is stepping through thresholds. Yeah, if you ever want to grow into someone that can like use their voice and express their voice and have your say, leave your mark on the world. Doesn't matter how small it is; it can still be profoundly beautiful. There's something I wrote a long time ago. It says, "Just do your part. Just do your part. And if it's a great part, do it with grace. And if it's a small part, do it with greatness. Just do your part, you know?" And we're all here to just do our part. We're all walking each other home. We're all participating and encouraging and uplifting the human conversation. And not all of it has to be uplifted with strident thought leadership or a visionary new idea. Yes, we're looking for those, and I am looking for those. But I'm also just looking for more beauty in the field and more innocence and more authenticity. For fuck's sakes, more authenticity. There is so much synthetic junk, right? And that caters to the lowest common denominator in our society. And that we just keep filling up the field with meaningless comments and meaningless memes. It's just junk. It's junk food, junk spirituality, junk information, junk opinions, junk value. The only way to counter that is, is to produce something else of the opposite into the field. Find your tribe, and start connecting with them and converging with people on such small beauties, because the people that we're competing against are not people. There's a spirit that has overtaken the world and overtaken the internet, and everything that we create kind of is a product of that dark spirit. And I don't mean this necessarily metaphysically. You can understand that there's such a thing as a spirit of triumph, or a spirit, sports teams. Somebody can get in their head and they can have this defeatist spirit about them. A mob can have like a violent spirit or a cathartic spirit. Okay, so we understand how these words are used. But there is such a spirit that has possessed us, and drives the majority of the internet. And in that spirit, people out there, actors out there that are possessed of that spirit, they do not they don't have any of your reservations. They don't have any of your scruples or your self-restraint. They don't have any concern about authenticity. The battle for their authenticity was won and lost long ago. And it was their hunger for attention without a so that won that battle. Yeah. It's almost your duty to find your voice right now. What do we say? Ndukwe says, the labor for freedom is its own reward. Where is the so that? I'm there. Yeah, the labor for freedom. If you can define for yourself and everybody else what you mean by such freedom, by such words as freedom. Anna says, great session, some really useful insights, good vibes. Thank you. Maybe I'll try the video one day, even though the idea of it makes me shrivel up inside. The thing that makes you shrivel up inside, Anna, is the part of our ego that is holding on that wants to keep you safe. And it's fearful and it's scary to expose yourself and to be vulnerable. And so it has to keep you fundamentally small so that you never take those steps. I struggle with the feeling that I'm wasting people's time with babbling. Remember, when you do the 20-day alive challenge, the Finding Voice challenge, you are not doing it for other people. Guys, read the room. The internet is full of shit. People are just babbling anyway, right? At least you know in your heart you have a so that. And if you tell other people about that so that, then some people in that babble session will listen to you and they will be encouraged to do it. And we can infect each other with this wonderful idea of finding our own voice, giving ourselves permission to be seen, yeah, and doing so for a so that. I think it's the right move. Anyway, Ndukwe says, I'm in. I hope more of you are in. Anyway, folks, I don't want to carry these things on too long. The Earthling says, I've used AI to become a better writer, yet I'm told by experienced writers that's a sacrilege. Let's talk about that today. That is why I'm reluctant to share a lot of judgment out there for us with no experience at all, who use it to help us find our voice. Still my authentic voice, but I need help to organize my thoughts. Okay, we need to make a distinction. We don't have language for this either, the Earthling. If you are an Earthling, that means you come through a pathway, a portal into life, an initiatory process that by definition means you have to learn the hard way how to operate the rig that you have, how to organize the information that you're parsing as you navigate reality, and how to demodulate or modulate your own thoughts, right? So you can share them out in the world. Some people need glasses to see. Some people need corrective shoes to walk properly. That happens. But unless you have a lifelong impediment, using a crutch means eventually you will become dependent on that crutch. There needs to be a distinction made here between I'm letting this AI help me organize my thoughts. I have what people might call ADHD, something on the autism spectrum. I'm highly neurodivergent. Sometimes I'm so frazzled and bamboozled, and I have so much coming through me at once. I'm telling you right now, if you've got so much coming through you at once that becomes incoherent, nobody needs to hear it. Nobody needs to hear it, right? You need to do another thing. You need to do stillness practice, mindfulness practice. You need to learn how to regulate your nervous system and your mind and your thoughts, and you need to learn how to mediate that. Yes, I use AI to help as a research assistant and help me parse complex ideas. And I'm not ashamed of that, nor will I ever be ashamed of that, because I understand my so that, my why, right? However, in there is also room where I can delude myself and I can tell myself that the reason I'm using it is because it helps me become a better writer. To a small point, like a spell check or Grammarly. These things help us polish our work, right? The problem is, I can get on a camera now and I can speak not too differently to the way I write. Okay, I can say intelligent things that no one can read what I write and then have a conversation with me. And then there's such a dissonance between what I write and what I'm actually able to produce out of my mouth. Right. This is the stream that I want to get better at. Right. As well as this. And if I'm relying on a machine all the time, I'm not developing anything. I'm outsourcing to something. A skill that I actually wanted to develop in myself. And you only automate that or outsource that, which are skills that you don't want to value and learn, you know? And the problem is no one's applying discernment, the Earthling. We're either in camps where we slag off all AI and it's got no merits, and it's just we castigate everyone who uses AI at all, or we have people who use exclusively AI and they can't even respond in the comments section of notes in their own language. They read something inspiring and then they write you this fucking synthetic review, pumping your tires. And the irony is, I'll write something about human authenticity and they'll respond with this AI written PhD level sophistry, pumping my tires and telling me how important this thing is that I've just said, completely like shooting in the foot the point that we're trying to make here together. And so I think we need to step through this. It doesn't all have the same. It's not black and white. Can AI help you write better? Perhaps. But I think another human mentor can also help you write better. Do we all have access to such human mentors? No. If you're a theorist and you're trying to organize a theory and you're not a great writer and you say, I didn't write this, but this theory is my own and I'm using AI to help everybody explain this in terms because I'm terrible at explaining it, go for it. But you need to get better at explaining your shit. Otherwise, it's not your shit, you know? So I think what I'm saying, the Earthling, is that there's a tension we need to sit with and live with. And we need to recognize that there's nuance. But we also need to be very, very grown up with ourselves and say, man, if I ever really want to grow, I'm going to have to take some steps on my own, I'm going to have to take some steps on my own. The thing is, what you would have heard from me is a combination of compassion and understanding, and I can relate half of that, but also half of, hey, there's a cost here. And be careful, because if this is what happens in politics, you go out there and you try and use your voice, and then the assholes from the one end just shut you down. And so you get no compassion and no understanding. So who do you turn to? You turn to the radical assholes on the other side who make excuses for you and for bad behavior. And then we all run that way, right? And then they make an argument, somebody mildly left of center or right of center, and then the other side absolutely castigates them. So they run to the other polarity. That's our problem. Our problem is we can't hold the uncomfortable tension of a paradox. And holding the uncomfortable tension of a paradox is the definition of leadership, man. It's not you have to hold the dissonance inside yourself and become large enough to contain it. You don't run away from it. Anyway, Morgan, you joined just at the end, my friend, and Yahoo, if I'm pronouncing, oh God, I can't pronounce your guys' names. You guys are too creative with your names, and I'm not learned enough to say all those names properly. But ladies and gentlemen, friends, what am I talking about today? I'm talking about these journeys we can undertake, either to begin again and commit ourselves to that repeatedly, or to just stick at something and go and keep going. And guess what? There is a way that you can do both in the same time. When I do Finding Voice, which is the other thing I'm talking about, it's this exercise of going on live 20 days in front of a camera on social media. And it's not really about how much other people love it or how important it is what you have to say. It's more about that exercise of you just finding a way to say your own thing in your own words. In that exercise, you can have redos. You can say something. I sometimes would talk and then I would say, oh my God, listen to me. I sound like I'm teaching, or I sound like some fucking knob. That's not what I meant. I don't want to talk like that. Can I start over? What are people going to do? Leave? They can leave. It's not about them. It's about you and your honesty. You know what? And there's so much comfort and freedom and what's the word? Maybe sanctuary that you can find if you can have that sense of self-acceptance for yourself. The world just becomes more spacious. All right. And conversations can become more spacious as well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 40-minute mark. I really would like to go because I'm trying to get these things shorter and shorter and shorter. But it looks like this is over time going to become something of a podcast. And you can already hear what the themes are about. It's about authenticity and agency and voice and discernment and what a better future looks like for humanity and for ourselves, and how we get there and how we challenge our existing models and stories and what better looks like. But I'm not the only broker of such conversation. You all have contributions to make into that. But your contributions, just like that clay vase or vase in the beginning of our story, either needs to be refined or you need to be brave enough to start over, And there's lots of ways of contributing to that conversation, but don't remain silent for your fear of being seen. Because let me tell you who wins in that scenario. You're going to get to the end of your life, right? And you're going to have to tally up the bookkeeping of your life. Not in a metaphysical sense. I'm telling you right now, when you get to the end of a relationship or the end of a holiday or the end of a meal or the end of a conversation or the end of anything, right? Don't you always just have the following experience? You tally up inside of yourself all of that, which if you had your time again, oh gosh, I wouldn't have done that. That was the wrong thing to have done. I feel bad about that. I've now caused some trouble that I can't take back. Let's call that regret. Now, everybody has some regret, and regret's necessary and healthy and part of a fully lived life. But the kind of regret we're talking about is where you think that you did your soul a disservice in life. You thought you did this chance at life a disservice by making that choice or behaving a certain way or missing an opportunity. And let's say the other column is if you ask yourself, if I had my time again, what would I keep doing? What would I keep doing? What would I do again? Gladly. And I would maybe even do more of, because that gave me meaning. Right, and let's call that column meaning. You want to get to the end of anything, including a life, where the meaning column has more entries in it than the regret column. And the only way to do that is to play out your regrets, to cast your eye forward in a Promethean way. And, there's a way of asking, what would the better version of me do? What would the bolder version of me do? If somebody else had my chance at life and my opportunities and my talents and my gifts and the beauty that lives inside of me, what would this better version of me do in such a moment? What would my replacement do? And you immediately know what you should do. You immediately know what you should do. And you also stop making so many excuses, And for God's sakes, you have to learn to shut the voice of the nattering crowd out. It doesn't mean to say you should make yourself immune from feedback or from challenge. No. To be a leader is to walk around with this healthy relationship to being challenged, and you have to be amenable to challenge. You have to be prepared to take on feedback. You have to. But you also can't wait for permission before you do the right thing or the necessary thing. And really, it's such things that I'm going to be talking about. So if you're liking the vibe and you're getting something from this, please, for the love of everything that's holy, can you hit that little love heart? It's not because I need further validation. It's so that what? So that this infernal algorithm can realize this is something human beings like, and maybe other human beings will therefore be encouraged to come and participate in such a conversation. Maybe they can catch fire. Maybe they can be given self-permission. Maybe they can learn to find their voice and start this. We need to become the human ghost inside the machine. We're not going to make a new utopian internet where everybody just acts perfectly. We have to start from where we are with what we have with this shit version that we have right here, but we can make it better. And if you don't believe we can make it better, you might as well just check out of life, right? Because I want to believe we can make it better. Ishmael, I'm so sorry that you arrived just as we're closing out, but maybe I can impress on you the importance of watching this video later on at your own discretion. So, folks, thank you, and I bid you a beautiful evening. Ishmael, maybe we'll see you next time, my brother. Take care.